So the war continuing very much in the Ukraine and really getting intense. And what a factor with the North Korea. I mean, it's rather remarkable. They actually sent troops there. So quite a hot spot there. Let's get back to basics. Good morning. Good morning, New Hampshire. Hope you slept okay. The morning did arrive. A little windy out there, actually, J-Dog. Quite breezy, actually. Pretty good wind gust, especially on the water coming over. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, New England. Worldwide. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Pretty exciting new capability here in our brand new digs here, 6 Hour studio in the Capitol. We now, if you want to watch the show, you can. The Pulse of an H on YouTube. You can listen streaming worldwide. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, any smart device, the Pulse of NH. Pretty cool. Download the app. The app is terrific. Local, national, weather and news. The show's segmented on demand content, the Pulse of an H. But now you can watch on YouTube, the Pulse of an H. Couple stories we're tracking out of the gate this morning. President-elect Trump already naming who he's going to pick for some of the key positions. Not surprising. Marco Rubio will be slated or tapped as Secretary of State. Governor Kristi Noem, Governor of South Dakota, Homeland Security Chief. I love how people bring up from her book on how she put down a farm animal because they have nothing else to talk about. We can keep going on this stuff. I don't think Liz Cheney's gotten a spot yet, but it's going to Trump has already named his border czar and other key posts. Mike Waltz on the national security side, pretty cool Green Beret serving him. I don't know what's going on in the outgoing Biden Harris. Don't you love the? I was thinking I've heard about four people have asked me in the last 24 hours. Hey, Jack, what do you think about? Do you think Joe Biden will temporarily, resign and put in Kamala Harris as president for a month or so? Stories out there. Some headlines are participation trophy. That's one of the headlines on the story. Harris replacing Biden in final hour tied to her path to the White House run. Can I ask you a question? How dumb would that be or look? Would that be the most patronizing thing you've ever seen? Oh, I'm going to put in. Let me just ask you a question. It's pretty apparent to me there's no love lost right now between Joe and Doctor, I guess they want to call it, Jill Biden, the first lady. There's no love lost between the Biden family and the Democrat bosses. There's no love lost at all. This is like organized crime when one boss is pushed out of a city, like Biden was forced to bow out of the race. If any of you believe that Joe Biden came up with that idea on his own, I got some really, really beautiful oceanfront property for you in Arizona. I really do. There's no love lost between the Bidens and the party. Why do you think Joe Biden and Jill Biden would step down after they go to him? And I do believe, and if you think I'm out there on this, that's your prerogative. I think I could go in front of a jury without even the evidence and maybe get a verdict. I do believe that I think we should know. I do believe that in the 11th hour there, because I laugh how Nancy Pelosi said Joe Biden could have bowed out a week earlier and they're blaming him at the blame game. You know what? They were all saying that Biden was fit as a fiddle, running circles around them and totally energetic and set to be the nominee and the president until that debate. So he bows out right after that. He's forced out. He didn't bow out. He's forced out. If you believe he bowed out again, I'll send you some Zillow or real estate listings for oceanfront in Arizona. He's forced out. Okay, and this is what the deal was, I believe. I don't know who it was. I believe Pelosi had a hand in it. I think former President Obama had a hand in it. I think Chuck Schumer, and he went to Delaware, had a hand in it. And I think Harris had a hand. They basically said, here's the deal. And it started with Clooney's letter. Joe, the fix is in. You're gonna give up the nomination, even though it's yours. You're gonna give it up before you're bowing out. Okay, it's not up to you. I don't want to bow out. It's not up to you. You're bowing out, or next week, a couple members of your staff, your administration, your cabinet members are turning against you and the vice president. We're going to invoke the 25th Amendment because you're not fit mentally for the job, even though we've been telling everyone you are, and you're going to lose your presidency. You're going to lose your presidency. And if you want to keep your presidency, you're going to be a good whatever you want to call it, good guy, and you're going to bow out. Harris has it. As of that night, she starts raising money, and the fix was in. Do you think Joe Biden, after being forced out, threatened with the 25th Amendment to take away his presidency, is going to resign? The other one that's kind of funny is the pressure for one of the more liberal Supreme Court justices to resign to give Biden a chance to nominate a younger justice. Again, kind of funny if you don't understand how this works. The Senate, there's not enough time. They have to actually confirm. They have to interview. It's a process on Capitol. Do you not remember the Kavanaugh hearings? The joke that was about how people, a certain side of the aisle tried to basically showed how mature they were, going nuts on the Kavanaugh hearings. So that's not going to happen. I don't know what else. The other one I want to say on pet peeves is how many of these House races are still not called? It's been a week. Did they stop teaching math courses in these states? Did they stop? How many, again, if you think about it, how many House races still are not called? And when you look at this, there's like 18 races that still are not called. What are they doing? How many times are they going to recount? How come these states a week later can't tell you who won? This is a good question to think about. Uh, in New Hampshire, why is it New Hampshire? Oh, albeit, but not all these states are huge states. There's 18 states. And if you read different things, um, the answer has to do with, guess what? Mail-in ballots. Oh, they're trying to keep looking for those. Go back to COVID. Here's the deal. New Hampshire's a smaller state. Why is it that night we could go to bed knowing every single race? They're going to do some recounts today, I guess J-Dog said locally, but we know the results. For Congress, Pappas gets reelected. Democrat, 1st District, defeats Russ Prescott. Maggie Goodlander defeats Lily Tang Williams. Ayotte defeats Craig. What's the big mystery? Do they not? Do you know that I'm a little suspicious of the state of Maine these days. I think Maine's one of them. Alaska. Do they not know how to count? I don't know. So some of it has to do with military votes, which are important. But again, I don't know how long this is going to go. But I do suspect that in the end, they'll pretty much call this for Republicans. But I look at some of the stories in the news, and oh my goodness, Trump is moving quickly. Wait till after January when he starts unsigning all the Biden executive orders. I'm waiting for the Keystone XL pipeline to be fired up again. In the Northeast, we need natural gas. We need it really bad, really important for lower electricity costs, because a lot of the people who get all whipped up on this stuff don't know that it takes natural gas to make electricity. Oh, it does? I didn't know that. Yeah, until we get some hydrogen going, what there might be coming soon. But we're looking at a windy Tuesday to start our day. A couple of programming notes. Really looking forward to this Friday. Bringing back the trades. We're going to be moving a short distance from our 6-hour studios here in the Capitol over to New Hampshire Technical Institute. At 9 to noon, my show will be live right in the heart of the college campus there. About 5,000 of you. Tickets pretty much sold out. 80 companies, 80 businesses are going to be there for a really significant trade show. Mike Rowe will be on hand. He's speaking at 10, and then he joins yours truly for Good Morning Hampshire, the Pulse of an H, in the 11 o'clock hour, talking about the day. It goes till 2 o'clock. So we'll be there live, front and center in the auditorium. And we're one of the big sponsors. Really kudos to Amanda Grapponi Osmer for coming up with this idea. I thought she was a little ambitious with the idea when she first broached it, and she was not. She's a real visionary on leadership, coming up with an idea and getting people to go towards that. She also, Procon Inc. and some other great sponsors are yours. Us, the Pulse of an Age, big sponsor to make this happen, to get the people there, the companies there, the sponsors there, and Mike Rowe. And I'm looking forward to it because under the category of we've done some really foolish things and sat silent while a few people who are probably overeducated. What I mean by that is public education. The decision makers sometime, I don't know, after I get out of high school and the last 20 or 30 or 40 years, some people just decided, let's take shop classes out of public. Let's take vocational classes out of public education. How's that going to work? Oh, yeah. So as Mike Rowe did so well on Dirty Jobs. He saw this. He deserves a ton of credit. Um, Dirty Jobs, yeah, the HVAC owner, the licensed electrician, the plumber, the licensed plumber. Dirty Jobs, carpenter, remodeler, dirty jobs. Most successful people I know are builders, developers, some of the smartest people, some of the best companies out there. Look at our recent caring and sharing 2-day food drive for 26 nonprofits. So many of those $1,000 contributions came from whom? They came from independent business owners in the trades. Pipe Connections Company in Center Harbor, $1,000. Thank you. Company down in Kingsborough, Mass was listening on our streaming. Thank you, $1,000. And you know what? Why did we ever allow this is the one thing I really hope that goes forward is, there's all this old line, squeaky wheel, whatever gets the grease, or just because a couple people make the most noise doesn't mean 8 people need to lose their brains or common sense and go along with it. And I mean that sincerely. Just because a kid at Stanford University tells some social governance dean that they're offended when they hear the term American because they're not from here. The college is in America. You don't like it? Go to college where you're from. Don't sit down when you hear nuts or stupidity. Just start speaking up about it. Again, it goes back to uh, renaming Christmas trees in towns because 1 or 2 people are offended. They don't celebrate Christmas. Well, celebrate what the heck you want. I respect that, but it's a Christmas tree. Don't name it a holiday tree or some other token name. It is like this, like everyone gets a trophy mentality. This is what has caused a whole generation of young Americans to not be able to cope or deal with anything. And that's why this past week there were no classes and they had therapists available because what? The kiddies can't deal with the election results that don't go their way and we're a democracy? What do you think? You're supposed to get an A on every exam? What happens when you get a C minus or you fail a course? Do you your mom the parents fly in and yell at the teachers, "Oh, my kid." What about telling your kid to study harder next time? Learn from your losses. Learn from your defeats. I've learned more from losing than winning. Winning's real easy once you do it. It's everyone wants to be by you and tap you on the shoulder. "Hey, Jack, hey, good back. Hey, you wanna hang out, buddy? What's going on?" When you lose, it's a little bit of an island and you learn from it. It's called coping. It's called coping. What a novel concept. We come back just because I feel like it. 603, join the conversation, 228-2080. You can now watch on YouTube, The Pulse of an H, or streaming worldwide. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play The Pulse of an H. Tens of thousands of you are each month, and we really dig that. I love seeing the numbers because they're real on streaming. And boy, have you heard about the cable TV news networks? The ratings, Nielsen, they're saying the ratings are going through the basement. What's going to happen? What's gonna happen with all these holier than thou anchors and on-air talents that were crying Tuesday night and no one's watching? That means the advertisers go away. Oh my goodness, what an experiment that's gonna be. But I wanna talk about Ivy League colleges and this anti-American sentiment at places like Columbia, Harvard. Yeah, I'll keep going, Princeton. And I'm wondering if they're gonna start hiring conservative-minded fiscal conservative professors. That's gonna be funny to watch, huh? Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse with Shaq, Heath, J-Dog, and the board's back in a few. You know, I we're a very diverse nation, which is a good thing, by the way. I mean that. And I looking at higher education, profound shift underway, and we're bringing back the trades this Friday. I've had several. I've had more than one of the really good, tremendous community college presidents we have in New Hampshire. And one thing I'm going to tell you, because when you hear me talk about public education, you may think that I have some issue with it. I don't. I'm a product of it. I believe in it. I just don't like when politics takes over education. Let me repeat that. I don't like it when politics takes over education. And I'm looking at the profound change in the marketplace because no one in Washington understands inflation and how people have been, their backs have been broken the last 4 years. Big part of Tuesday night was that in terms of people working class. And I love what the actor, I haven't read it yet, but I'll come back to it. Um, of what, speaking of some people, Alicia will be checking in J-Dog in the 9:35 slot. The actor Michael Douglas on the working class in the election. I don't know if you heard what he said. He basically, and I just think that, it's interesting. Even people who were very upset Tuesday night acknowledge, including Bernie Sanders, that the working class is no longer, the Democrat Party has lost. They no longer represent the working class. It's like the elite, and the Republicans or Trump represents the working class. But college education, what the market is now, because of inflation, is demanding is more community college programs, affordable 2-year degrees, get a good paying job. And for so long, higher education, public education, again, of which I was a product out of high school and then to University of Vermont, State University, but out of state student. The model was you don't want to have a dirty job. You don't want to be like a carpenter or a plumber. You want to go to a 4-year private undergraduate liberal arts college. And that was the model for decades. Now, I don't know who perpetuated that. I don't know who fostered that. I don't know who kind of came up with that, but everyone swam in that direction. And now what's happening is people are getting out of that river, realizing how non-intelligent, non-realistic financially and otherwise it was. And the marketplace is forcing change. And that's the difference between socialism and communism, the market-driven economy. You watch right here in New Hampshire and in New England, you watch the endowments leaving the Ivy League universities and all that. You watch the demand for community colleges grow. Watch the enrollment. The market will lead and cause change. That's good. And then we're going to have, and maybe Governor-elect Ayotte and other leaders will get together. I think Sununu started it when he put a commission together, and you realize the enrollments are dropping. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but the marketplace is real. So forget ideals for a moment. The first generation child going to in-state like University of New Hampshire, Durham, Keene State, Plymouth State, all fine universities. And again, so I'm not being hypocritical here. I have a couple kids who are products of more than one of these. So UNH Durham, the number of enrollments of New Hampshire students is going which direction? Which direction? It's going down. Which direction is community college enrollment? It's going up. So we pride ourselves on our 4-year university systems. We put all the majority of the money into it. The campuses are nicer. The cafeterias are nicer. And we treat our community colleges like, the back door. Now, the truth is, I went to a crafts fair with my smarter, prettier, better half, but after Tuesday night, I'm going to start saying wife again, and if it offends you, I don't give a damn. But I'll say both. My smarter, prettier, better half, my wife, said, oh, we're going to meet, the younger folks and our wife at a crafts fair at Great Bay Community College over at Pease International Trade Port. Great Bay, great school. It's growing. Home of the Heron, by the way, I saw in the sports. And you look at the facilities there, they're not as nice as UNH Durham. You look at NHTI, Manchester Community College, the buildings, they're not as nice as our flagship universities, but where is demand driving? Demand is going to the community colleges. That's the enrollment's going up. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying at some point the marketplace is going to force change. And if these universities are going to have extra rooms they're not using or extra dormitories, we have an affordable housing crisis in New Hampshire. I mean, I'm just trying to be pragmatic here. But the other point I want to make is the Ivy League universities have been a source of more anti-American sentiment over the last, I think it goes back to about 2012. And you can look up what's significant about that. But I think these college professors in the political science area, history, any of the social sciences, sociology, all of which I took courses at UVM, they got in there and they didn't teach history. And they didn't teach you about, the Vietnam era administrations or the assassination of JFK. They just started telling you they started telling our young students that America sucks. We're a bad country, and they've been doing it for a couple decades. And liberalism in our higher education, it's called liberal arts for a reason, but you're always going to have somewhat of a bend towards liberal policies, liberal teaching, liberal education. And again, the marketplace is going against that. It's nothing to do with Trump, by the way. This has nothing to do with Tuesday night. I know a lot of people like to give Trump credit or blame him for everything, including herniated disc or, an impacted tooth. I got news for you. This started a long time ago. And the liberal push through our universities and our young people, the brainwashing of young people. And you can just read your own stories of the young woman who got out of North Korea with her family, risked her life, got into South Korea, and then eventually got into New York City. They became immigrants here legally. What a novel concept. People are going to learn what that means again. Legally coming into this country. She and her family worked hard. In her mid to late 20s, she got into Columbia University. You can Google this story. Her own words. She should write a book or they should do a movie. She gets out of North Korea, talk about propaganda. She comes into New York City and gets into Columbia University. She's so proud. Imagine her family, Ivy League, New York City, America, gets out of Kim Jong-un land where the people are starving there because of basically communism. She comes here, gets into school. The anti-American, anti-Western, venomous teaching of her teachers. She came here thinking America was the land of the free. You know, the light shiny, the light on the hill. She got here. She got in. She worked hard. And she said the professors there were so anti-American, anti anything patriotic, anti anything Western civilization. It was worse than the propaganda and the hate that she was being taught in North Korea. So she learned to eventually be quiet because she spoke up saying, I risked my life to come here. I think it's a good country. The professors would almost punish her, bully her, embarrass her, and she learned to keep her mouth quiet and just beat everyone in her grade cum and graduate because she was so appalled. And this has been going on, especially in the Ivy League colleges. That's why I have a chip on my shoulder, even though my late dad, the Marine, who passed when he was too young and I was young, got into Harvard after. He's so proud of Harvard. But that was a different era. And what these schools have become, especially the Ivy League colleges. I'm going to tell you what we all forget. Look at last spring, the kiddies and the professional agitators taking over college campuses and the quad and the administration building, under the auspices of pro-Palestinian Gaza protests, but complete anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. And then I actually have people who probably have 3 college degrees telling me it wasn't really anti-Jewish, anti-Israel. And the students there are holding up death to Israel, obliterate Israel, Hamas signs. What, you think I'm stupid? But as I said at the time when they were taking over the colleges last spring, it wasn't just anti-Israel, it was anti-American. It was anti-West. This has been going on in our college campuses, and you know what? The marketplace is gonna force change. And it'll be interesting to see if these universities start hiring a young political science professor or an economics professor, or a sociology professor who might be a fiscal conservative. Will they allow that to be taught on their campus? And these professors hide behind their tenured status. It's hilarious. I couldn't last a week on a college campus like any of these, Harvard, any of them, because I would commonsensically raise questions and I'd be put in the corner of the room, if you will, and then eventually fired by the dean or the president saying, Jack, you can't go and criticize someone because they don't want you to say the term guy or American on campus. I'd say, what the hell are you talking about? See, I don't put up with things that don't make sense to me. You know, I actually, it's nuts to me, and I've always felt that way since I was a kid. Some commentary, but watch the marketplace change in college education. It's going to start right here. We're bringing back the trades this Friday. Community colleges are leading the way in New Hampshire, and again, no disrespect to UNH Durham. I love Plymouth State. They've done a great job. Keene State, real gems in our higher education, but that 4-year liberal arts education, of which I'm a product, I'm not saying it's going away, but the marketplace, the demand is going away. So where should the investment go? Right to the community colleges. Update them, put your money in there, make them the front, the beacon of our higher education, not the back seat. Some commentary, 603-228-2080. Come back. Alicia Preston Xanthopoulos, Seacoast Online from Hampton Beach. We'll see what trouble she's up to next. All right, welcome back. I'm going to continue. We got some feedback there in my last segment on education. Thank you for listening, people in the home building industry. I want to come back to the liberal push in America. I think people sometimes you can't underestimate Donald Trump because he became the Republican Party. He is the Republican Party, and all the liberal media that the last couple of years try to trip up any Republican candidate running for Congress or any office. Do you support Donald Trump? Do you support everything he says? Are you a Trump? Oh, you know what? I think Tuesday night spoke for itself. That election was a lot more than just Trump base voters, in case you didn't notice. But my point is the liberal push in America. You look back, good movie right now called Reagan with Dennis Quaid. You look back to George W. Bush. Look at how liberals reacted as far back as then. So this push in America, I think there's something beyond Donald Trump actually, which is hard to say it, although he's a heck of a fighter. And the UFC guy who was there that night at his victory speech at 2:15 or 2:30 in the morning had it right. Knock him down, push him down. He gets up, he fights. Um, but the point is, a lot of the far left stuff, and the Democrats are now trying to deal with it. The far left stuff, the crazy stuff that makes no sense to 8 out of 10 people. That's a lot of what the vote was Tuesday night. Sometimes you go too far. You go too far. You ram something that just seems nuts to 8 out of 10 people down their throat, and eventually they're going to throw up. They're going to puke. I mean, it's just the way life is. All right, Alicia Presence Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online, a.k.a. APX, Hampton Beach, with a little bit of a breeze out there this morning, a little bit of a wind out there. She's got that little laser. She's doing some, we used to call it frostbite sailing right off the coast this morning. Good morning, APX. Okay, you joined us election night. We know the results in New Hampshire. By the way, the Harris-Trump margin was a lot closer here, and Kelly Ayotte ended up winning closer to 10% than 8%. Wow. I mean, a lot of this was unexpected. Bigger Republican gains in the House and Senate. Yes, Pappas and Goodlander win those 2 seats, but nationally, what happened, Alicia? Yeah, but amazing. 4 years ago, 15 million more votes for Biden. I don't know how that happened, but I'll leave that alone. Go ahead. Wait, well, I don't either, by the way. You should know that about me. I'm the one who, when Donald Trump was on with me not long after that, and he was talking about that, I said, "Sir, don't you think it's better to focus on winning the next election versus relitigating the last one?" But I got to tell you, since what happened Tuesday night, I'm sorry, but this is fun, Alicia. Just real quick, I'm going to text you something. A friend of mine who's not one of these conspiracy theorists either. He said, "Just explain something to me. Wasn't Obama a pretty popular Democrat president? Beat Romney and McCain. Wasn't he like the most popular?" Okay. And then didn't Trump just have a resounding win Tuesday night in the popular vote and electoral college? How did Biden get 15 million more votes than Trump or Obama? I don't know if that happened 4 years ago. I think it was COVID mail-in ballots from the same household. It won't happen again. Trump came back and won fair and square. But I'm just pointing out, there's no way Joe Biden 4 years. I don't know the answer, Wish. I'm being totally candid. There's no way 4 years ago he got 15 million or 18 million more votes than Obama or Trump. Mhm, mhm, mhm. You're saying have a wide open primary way back. Yeah, 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 yeah. But Alicia, wait a minute. We were told by all the elite power brokers in the national media there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden. He was fit as a fiddle. It was us. It was us who questioned it until a debate in Atlanta. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, I really don't disagree with that, especially the last 4 or 5 minutes of what you said. I think it's all very sound and accurate. I try to explain to even folks like some of our regular your colleagues who are on my show, and I appreciate all of you, including Lucas Meyer and, Democrat analyst Brad Card, but Brad didn't get this too when I try to explain it. Trump ran against the machine. He ran against the machine the first time, he ran against the machine the second, and he's been running ever since. And in the first term, people do remember because they're not idiots. They did a 2-year special counsel probe on alleged Russia collusion. No one's ever apologized for that. They've gone after him on all these other cases, even if you think some are legit. I mean, I heard Melania Trump's not going to meet with the Bidens because she's still very upset of what she calls a raid on their private residence in at Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents. They went through everything in that home, and I'm not saying that Trump, should have turned over those documents, but so should have Joe Biden and 2 or 3 of his residences, and they didn't do the same treatment. So people look at these cases, they're after his businesses, they sue him civilly, they go after him. He's been after him, and he's been fighting the whole time. And a lot of people that just work for a living look at this going, "Wow, I don't really like a lot of what he says. I don't like how he says it. I don't even like how I don't really like him that much, but he's fighting against this whole thing that I know is corrupt." And I think that's to your point, people don't have trust in our institutions. They don't have trust in Washington, the whole system. And that's not good either, by the way. I'm not saying that's good. But the other thing, Alicia, is mainstream media. You and I haven't talked about it. That's your background. You're an excellent media person, and you always have been multifaceted. I mean that. And the national media has been all in on this after the switcheroo that Biden was forced out. No negative stories at all on Kamala Harris at all. She was given this. No, every story was negative on Trump. They tried every time, including a week before with Stephanopoulos or Martha Raddatz on ABC grilling Chris Sununu. How could you be against Trump and now vote for him? Did you hear what he said at his rally about Arnold Palmer in Georgia? I mean, I'm looking at him going, are you well, number one, Stephanopoulos is a joke. He's not a journalist. He's not a journalist at all. He's a Democrat hack. But the point is, Martha Raddatz is a journalist. They get too invested in politics, and the mainstream media is now sucking pond water in ratings. And they are. Oh, wait, hold on. I don't, by the way. I have watched The View every day since last Tuesday because it's better than watching. Hold on. It's better than watching professional wrestling. It's hilarious to watch them try and deal with how much garbage voted and how they voted and how much idiots Americans are. But real quickly, I don't watch evening news anymore after a career in television news and news directing. But I'll tell you one thing, Alicia. Brett Baer, when he sat down, when they did that interview they played up in Pennsylvania. Oh my goodness, he asked a question that really no one even caught. It wasn't what would you do differently than your past 4 years to the nominee Harris. He said she was going on at how offensive and how outrageous when she was running around with Liz Cheney and how over the top and unelectable Donald Trump is, right? A threat to all, unelectable, outrageous. And Brett Baer just sat there quietly till she was done. He goes, why does more than half America want him if he's that unelectable, if he's that offensive, if he's that offensive at his rallies? Why are more than half of Americans right now going to vote for him in the battleground states, including Pennsylvania? And she sat there and she goes, well, it's an election. It's not easy. I mean, she didn't know what to say. Oh my goodness. All right. What about New Hampshire? Kelly, yeah, are we surprised at the margin of victory there? Yep. Yep. Hmm. Hey, hey, you know what? I get news for you. Do you know who I think the shining star of the New Hampshire Democrat Party is? You're never going to guess what I'm going to say. And a lot of the media listens or some of these camps. Chris Pappas. Chris Pappas. I'm not saying Russ Prescott's not a good person. He served as executive council or state senator. Chris Pappas, I think, represents where the Democrats better get their heads around, even in New Hampshire. He wasn't on my show. He's passionate about abortion rights and all that, but he knew that that was not a winning message here because we do not have an abortion ban here. We have the same law Massachusetts has. They spent $50 million here lying to voters, trying to get all people scared that Kelly Ayotte is going to come in and ban abortions, and it backfired. And you, by the way, you've been right on that for over a year about women's rights. And I'm going to let you finish with how you phrase it, but you were correct. They overshot the runway on that. But Chris Pappas is a small business focused, hardworking, right? Would criticize Biden in the last 4 years. I even asked him after he won last Wednesday morning on my show, where did Harris go wrong? And he had a good point. It's not always a slam dunk for the VP to come out, and he had his history, but he did point out some things. He's willing to swim against the current, but he's also very pro-veteran, works very hard, very focused. There's no like ancillary noise. I think he's how do you unseat someone who's a good represent? That's what someone's supposed to be in Congress. Just don't vote all the time with your party. Be a little bit independent. But I'm just saying, I think you got to look at him and I don't know about Maggie Goodlander yet. I'm not sure Jeanne Shaheen, who was on my show last week, will end up running for the U.S. Senate in the minority now in this environment. But last point you made on abortion before I let you go, going into the election. Right. All right. We got to. Yep. I agree. All right. We got to run. Thank you. Alicia Preston's up, though. Seacoast Time. Back in a moment.